Hello, everyone. My name is Connor Fitzpatrick, and you're here for Bitcoin for Beginners. We're gonna start pretty much right away. We're waiting for just a couple of our folks kind of get settled in here, and then we're gonna start the presentation. We are on a hard stop today at 5 p.m., and you will get a opportunity to ask questions for myself, for Raleigh, our executive Bitcoin advisor, or for our special guest, Katie the Russian from CitizenX. So will just allow us to quickly get prepared while I pull up our presentation. And we is my screen blurry there, Riley? Yes, it is. Okay, that's odd. Okay, I don't know why
You're good now.
Yeah, I'm just gonna leave in the presentation preview mode. So sorry about that, guys. I guess we're gonna do a little bit of borders on our screen here. Um, my apologies for the minor technical hiccup. We are joined here by our special guest, Katie Anina, also known as Katie the Russian from Plan B Passport. Very excited. We're gonna have a really cool special presentation for you guys. First off, we're gonna start off with the standard presentation that we typically share. So if you've seen this before, that you might see something that you've already seen in the past. And if not, then I hope you're have the opportunity to learn something today. So without further ado, this is Bitcoin for Beginners. I'm your host, Conrad Fitzpatrick, and Katie and Nina from CitizenX is our special guest. We're going to start off discussing the why of Bitcoin. A lot of you may have been hearing about Bitcoin in the news, maybe for the first time, or maybe Bitcoin is one of those things where you every now and then you keep hearing about it, and you might be wondering, why am I hearing about this? Why is it every time I hear about this, the price is going up? And why are there some people that seem to be so strongly opinionated on Bitcoin or Bitcoin's potential future success? And that's what I'm here to discuss with you today. Bitcoin is pretty unique and special. And I think the best way to highlight Bitcoin's uniqueness is to compare it to our current money that we use every day. We call this fiat money. You may think of this as government money or the money that you use every day without even thinking about, but it is fiat money, and that's what we're going to be comparing Bitcoin to. The three main ways we're going to kind of compare Bitcoin to fiat money is going to be by analyzing Bitcoin as a hedge against inflation. Inflation is something that many of us have been feeling kind of as a burden in the last few years. And this is something that has been historically a burden as well. So we're going to talk about how Bitcoin can fight against this historical force of inflation. We're also going to discuss how Bitcoin is a powerful tool in an era where technology is being used to control and censor and police people. Money is no different. Sanctions are imposed globally, but also sanctions have been imposed domestically on citizens. And we're going to talk about how Bitcoin can help you fight that. And then lastly, what makes Bitcoin so strong? What makes Bitcoin so unstoppable? Why do I have these strong claims of Bitcoin? And that's because when you trust in Bitcoin, you're putting your money and your faith in math and not man. And man is fickle. Man will change. Man will be replaced by a different man. And if you trust in math, then you're trusting in something that you can verify yourself and that you know will be unchanged. So that's what makes Bitcoin. Those things are why we think Bitcoin is special. There obviously are many other reasons, but we're going to dive deep into those. So firstly, inflation. This is something that all of you are without a doubt facing. You see at the grocery store, the price of homes, the price of cars, and inflation, very simply, is just everything getting more expensive because there are more dollars. There are more units of currency chasing the same goods. If we lived in a small little world where there were 100 apples and $100, you could say that each dollar would be worth like each apple would be worth like $1. But if all of a sudden there's $1 million and still 100 apples, then it wouldn't be a surprise to see each apple be like $10,000, because if dollars are just a fraction of a pizza, like a pizza, and if you cut the slices into smaller slices, you can't say, oh, you're full off of 10 slices of pizza, even though each piece is like this big. That's not a sufficient. You're not getting more pizza. You're getting tricked into having each quantity of pizza being worth less. And inflation seems like something we have to have. And this is kind of confusing because we hear our governments and financial analysts talk about how inflation is good and it's necessary, but it stands to actually benefit governments because governments have massive amounts of debt, and it's useful for governments to inflate the currency that their debt is in to make their debt burden worth less. And this kind of makes us feel like we're playing this endless rat race of trying to afford real estate and trying to afford things because everything seems to be getting more expensive. And it doesn't need to be this way. We're going to very quickly see how Bitcoin is very different. So we have two charts kind of on the screen that we've been looking at. This first chart represents the total number of dollars that are in existence. And we can see that it just is dramatically increasing. It jumped during this era here where my mouse is, highlighting the COVID era. But we see that the general trend of this chart is just continuous increase or continuous money printing. The quantity of money, the billions of dollars are continuously increasing. And also, we don't know what's going to happen in the future. This is a very important component of fiat money, that we have this uncertainty, this fundamental uncertainty of the future, which means we can't very properly prepare. And then we look at Bitcoin, and this chart here represents the number of Bitcoin that will be created up until the year 2041, which, if you think about it in comparison to the fiat money chart, we actually know the future of Bitcoin. We don't know the future of fiat. We hypothesize and we strongly believe it's going to be inflationary because that's what it's always has been. But with Bitcoin, we actually know for sure that the future will not be inflationary because the number of Bitcoin that are produced every 4 years, you can see, is decreasing gradually over time. And eventually, the amount of Bitcoin produced every day, new Bitcoin, will actually reach zero. And this will happen when the Bitcoin total supply is capped at 21 million Bitcoins or 21 million Bitcoin. And this is what makes Bitcoin so powerful, is that there's only going to be 21 million Bitcoin. And we know this whether the price of Bitcoin is $1 or $1 billion. There will never be more than 21 million Bitcoin. And that special fact is actually completely unique to Bitcoin and cannot be replicated by any other type of financial asset. If we want more gold, if the price of gold increases to $20,000 an ounce, more people will mine gold and the quantity of gold will increase, or the gold supply will start to inflate. This cannot happen with Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is the safest way to protect your value because it cannot be inflated away. Next, your wealth that cannot be inflated away doesn't mean anything if it can be taken from you. And this is where the concept of centralization is really important to talk about. So the current financial system, fiat money, there's a lot of points of centralization. Most of you don't have all of your cash sitting underneath your mattress or in a safe in your basement. Most of your money is held in a bank. And we've seen through many times that these banks, with a single whisper from the government, will shut down your bank account, seize your funds, and prevent you from transacting in the economy, which in effect blocks your ability to express your freedom of speech, your freedom of expression, and your political beliefs. So basically, you can be controlled and censored by the government through our current banking system. Now, this isn't just about seizing your assets because you've done something wrong. This can also be about the government wanting to basically take your money so that they can get rich. And this has happened before. In the 1930s, the US government villainized holders, people that held gold. If you held gold in a bank, they wrote Executive Order 6102, and instantly your gold didn't belong to anymore. It belonged to the government. And you might think that's not fair. They shouldn't be allowed to do that. Well, yes, but they wrote a law that allowed them to do that. And they made the private ownership of gold illegal for 40 years until they basically said, fine, you can own gold again. And when that happened, they forcefully took your gold and gave you dollars in exchange. This happened in 1932 when gold was $25 an ounce. Gold is well over $3,000 an ounce today, and the dollar has lost 99% of its purchasing power. So in effect, if you had several ounces of gold back then, that would be worth tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars today, yet you ended up with US dollars that were designed to lose their value on purpose. And whether you're supporting a political cause like the Canadian truckers' protest, or you want to help feed children in Gaza, or support fighters in Ukraine, whatever your political cause is, there's going to be a government that opposes it and will try and stop it. But with Bitcoin, you can fund anybody, you can send money to anybody, and that's kind of magical. And yeah, it is pretty magical. That's why us Bitcoiners are so passionate and supportive of Bitcoin. Kind of to summarize, Bitcoin is decentralized. It's not like a bank where there's a single point that you can tell this person, hey, stop this person's money. Bitcoin is controlled by tens of thousands of computers that are all working in harmony around the world. And none of them have the ability, regardless of how much Bitcoin that one person running that computer may have, none of them have the ability to stop or censor a Bitcoin transaction. That means that the Bitcoin you own, especially when you own it in a self-custody wallet, one that only you control, it's not in a bank, that means that your Bitcoin is unstoppable. That feeling is honestly liberating. You're achieving financial sovereignty. No sovereign can impede on your wealth. And that is incredibly liberating. You're going to have freedom and independence that you've never been able to experience. We experience this freedom and independence. I can look at the news and not worry at all because I know my Bitcoin in a wallet will not be affected by anybody and no one will be able to take it. And I know this because I'm not trusting in some sort of CEO that is currently in charge. I'm not trusting, a prime minister or a president, because as we know, those people are continuously replaced and those people can change their opinions. And when like we saw, those people, a president signed Executive Order 6102 in 1932, enabling the government to take your Bitcoin. To take your gold. And I would argue that if you keep your Bitcoin in a Bitcoin bank, like a custodial Bitcoin exchange, like Coinbase, or anyone that offers a service to hold on to your Bitcoin, that Bitcoin is one law away from being taken away from you. And you're not going to have any warning. You'll just wake up one day and find cash in your Bitcoin account, and you're not going to have Bitcoin anymore. And if you have your Bitcoin in a wallet that only you control, you know that cannot happen to you. Bitcoin is insecure. Bitcoin wallets are secured by cryptographic security, basically meaning that no one can hack a Bitcoin wallet. No one can steal your Bitcoin private key or your Bitcoin password because the cryptography is just unbreakable, essentially. We can monitor this cryptography. We can basically audit it or check it ourselves to make sure that this is all true. And I have an example for you here, a snippet of Bitcoin's code. And now I'm not a computer expert. I'm not a coder, but I can look at this and just see clearly subsidy is cut in half every 210,000 blocks, which will occur approximately every 4 years. And what this means is that every 4 years, the quantity of Bitcoin that is produced is cut in half or decreases. And this aligns with what we know, that Bitcoin there will not be more than 21 million Bitcoin. Every aspect of what I've claimed about Bitcoin today can actually be verified in its code or in the way that it operates through its decentralized nature. So in quick summary, Bitcoin is really special because it's not governed by people. It's governed by math, which everyone can independently verify and maintain themselves. Bitcoin is censorship resistant because it is decentralized and not controlled by any party, enabling you to have financial sovereignty that is unrivaled by any financial market or any financial asset. And it is completely scarce. There's this concept in economics called supply elasticity, and it basically means that if something gets more expensive, more of it will be made, or there's more of an incentive to make more of it. But that doesn't happen with Bitcoin. You cannot make more Bitcoin, even if as its price goes up, or even if the government or somebody says, let's make more of it. And that's why Bitcoin is the ultimate hedge against inflation, because you cannot make more than 21 million. And we know for a fact they're going to keep making more dollars. They're going to keep printing money. So Bitcoin is the best way to protect yourself from inflation and from money printing. Now, how to buy Bitcoin. So we pride ourselves in being one of the only ways, and the only way in the United States, to buy Bitcoin directly to your Bitcoin wallet. We are America's only non-custodial Bitcoin platform. What that means, when you buy Bitcoin with us, we don't hold on to your Bitcoin and you have to beg us to take sole ownership of it. The moment you buy Bitcoin, we automatically send it to your Bitcoin wallet. If you're just getting started, we'll send it to your wallet, and you'll be able to start buying Bitcoin and kind of learn this whole Bitcoin thing. Like the internet, the internet was kind of new and challenging to use, 20-ish years ago when it was first starting out. But today we're all using the internet as part of our daily lives, and it's ubiquitous with our life. We don't really think about it. We don't think about setting up an email as being something that's challenging, but it was when we were first doing it. And so we understand that. So we have methods where you can easily get started. Our team prides ourselves on our customer support and our ability to help you be successful. So you can reach out to us. We'll educate you. We'll guide you. If you're looking to make large Bitcoin purchases, Riley Combs, our executive Bitcoin advisor, will be able to help guide you and help create a strategy for you that allows you to buy large amounts of Bitcoin in a way that is best for you. And we pride ourselves in allowing folks to connect their hardware wallets or their ultra safe, secure cold storage Bitcoin wallets. And when you buy Bitcoin, you can send it directly to that wallet every single time, meaning that you go from cash in some sort of bank to Bitcoin in a wallet that only you control, that no one in the world can seize. And that's really special. In Canada, we have the e-transfer service for smaller purchases. In the United States, they have the ACH bank transfer. And we keep things simple. We have a 1.2% spread. There are no other fees, no hidden nonsense, no, oh, whoops, sorry, you don't have to pay more money now. 1.2% is the only spread you will get. We deliver your Bitcoin to your wallet automatically for free. You can speed that up if you like, but we like to keep things simple by keeping things free for you. Blue Wallet is one wallet that we do recommend as a wallet to get started. If you're watching this and you haven't set up a Bitcoin wallet before, I recommend just typing into Google Blue Wallet. You'll find the first link will be very likely an option for Blue Wallet. It's very widely used, and it's kind of what I was talking about before. You know, we want something that a lot of people can use, a lot of people can verify. That's kind of how Bitcoin operates. A lot of people are verifying that everything is true, and with Blue Wallet, a lot of people verify that it is a good wallet, it is secure. Everyone on our team is trusting it, so we recommend Blue Wallet as a place for you to get started. Our Bitcoin Wallet Infinite team, where I mentioned for large Bitcoin purchases, those start at $50,000. We have fees as low as 1% on that service, so you can definitely get the most sats for your dollar or the most Bitcoin for your dollar. Sats are just a fraction of a Bitcoin, so us Bitcoiners often refer to Bitcoin and sats kind of interchangeably. And as well, there are no other fees for that service. If you have more questions about buying Bitcoin through our OTC team, Riley will be able to handle your questions during our audience Q&A session. But for that pretty much concludes the why Bitcoin portion of our presentation. If you want to keep learning about Bitcoin, why Bitcoin, and how is Bitcoin better than fiat money, I would encourage you to go to bitcoinwallet.com/webinar. This is after our webinar, I apologize, we'll have an additional link for you to keep learning in the Bitcoin Academy. The Bitcoin Academy is a free online course that we built that allows you to learn about Bitcoin in a fun and interactive way that feels more like you're playing a game or watching a fun YouTube video as opposed to learning about money, which can be kind of complicated and difficult. But for now, we've concluded our Bitcoin presentation. I'll hand over the presentation to Katie from CitizenX, who's titled here as Plan B Passport, to discuss about second citizenship. Let me close my screen here.
Appreciate it, Conrad. Appreciate it. I'm gonna present my screen now. Let me know if you can see the entire screen now. Does that look good?
Looks great.
Okay. Well, hello everybody. My name is Katie. I have my name here as Plan B Passport. That's the company I started 6.5 years ago to help Bitcoiners to obtain second citizenship. Few months ago, I was acquired by CitizenX. So now I'm Katie from CitizenX, CitizenX.com. So this presentation is basically the ultimate sovereign individual package, right? I believe Bitcoin and second passport is what brings you to this ultimate sovereign individual status. And where it came from is I grew up in a post-Soviet country. So Bitcoin was really easy for me to understand simply because I lived through hyperinflation. I lived through bank accounts, seizures, etc. So the moment I got fully educated on Bitcoin properties, it clicked right away. And few things were the most important to me. First one, Bitcoin being borderless money outside of any nation state control, because I know I grew up in a post-Soviet world. I have this in my DNA to not trust the government. And the second is this concept of radical ownership, right? Self-custody of an unseizable asset. So these two were the most important properties for me. So I became a Bitcoiner, but now what? Now, while there's an unseizable asset in a cyberspace, there's still us, and we are out here in a physical presence. So how do we protect ourselves? And this is where a flag theory comes into play. My definition of flag theory is your ability to limit your dependency on any one particular state by obtaining a second passport or other flags. So I believe that Bitcoin is king and passport is queen. And just like Bitcoin freed us from the constraints of the traditional financial system, now we need to free ourselves from the limitations of traditional citizenship. What we believe in, citizenship is also an asset, mobility is liquidity. So we like Bitcoin because of its optionality. It gives us this optionality to operate out in an alternative exit strategy, right? Alternative system. And flag theory gives us the same optionality. So how do I get optionality? I am treating citizenship as an asset and I'm starting to stack flags, right? So on the screen right now, you see multiple circles. It's citizenship is a very important flag. Bitcoin is definitely considered a flag in your flag theory toolkit. Permanent residency, temporary residency, some other visas are considered in your flags as well. So what does your flag theory determines? First one is where you can travel. And me being born in Russia, I was constantly denied in visas. I've been denied rejected entry in the EU. I was on a Russian national team, and yet I could not get to the Europe Cup, World Cup, because my visa got denied, and I had to reapply and try another path. My US visa was originally rejected as well, and I had to find a way to get a visa, and then I got my green card here in the US as well. So if you are lucky enough, you might have been born in a country with a strong passport. And you can see some of the world's most powerful passports in terms of visa-free travel access. I'm sure, like if you're Canadian or American, you're in a good spot. You can travel almost anywhere without the need of visa. But that's one of the things how we determine a powerful passport. The flag theory also determines where you can do business. Now, that's where I like to look. We are in a capitalistic world, so economic freedom is what really determines the strength of your flag in this scenario. So you look at things like movement of capital and limitations on that, the taxes, access to markets, etc. So we can look at that and see where we can do the business and what's the best for that. It also determines where you can leave, right? Depending on what citizenships and residencies you have, you might be able to travel to a better world. And we can see it in the capital exodus over here. Like the UK right now is number 2 in the exodus of capital, meaning that the most amount of millionaires are currently leaving UK for elsewhere due to its policies and specifically lack of economic freedom and high taxes. And then it also determines whether you can leave. And right now, mandatory military service is one of the big deals because, like in Russia and Ukraine, they both got mobilized their citizens, and citizens under 60 cannot leave the country. If we look at COVID, Australians could not leave the country as well during COVID. So all these things are very important when strategizing for your flag theory. And of course, where you pay taxes. That's a very important one right now because there are some citizenships that will tax you no matter where you live. And in other cases, like with Canadians, you can actually become a non-tax resident by relocating elsewhere and stop paying 46% taxes and pay 0% taxes on your Bitcoin. So one citizenship, no options. As Bitcoiners, we do not like to rely on government. We do not like to have government to have the monopoly over us. And one interesting fact is that only 3% of people live outside of the country where they were born, meaning that your original government has 97% monopoly over you, and it's really hard to shop around jurisdictions and buy new flags. But it is getting easier, and that's where game theory comes into play, which I'll touch on a little further. So how do you get those citizenship? Your first citizenship, the birth lottery. Yesterday I read on Twitter that you had 17.9% chance of being born in India, and that kind of blew my mind. But then you also have an option to invest in your citizenship. Just like we invest in sound money, we diversify our financial portfolio. We also diversify our passport portfolio by investing in citizenship. Right now, there's the highest amount of countries offering citizenship by investment as it's ever been in the world. Again, game theory, they have to compete for citizens, so the number is going up. Currently, it's 19 countries that offer this kind of programs. But let's talk about the ones that are the most interesting for Bitcoiners and how it works. Basically, it's a true pay-to-play. It's basically you offer a contribution to a country in a way of donation or purchasing bonds in a country, or sometimes purchasing real estate in a country. And on this basis, you legally acquire citizenship of the country, going through naturalization process based on your contribution to the country. So I want to touch on Bitcoin country, of course. El Salvador has become the Bitcoin country. Bitcoin has been legal tender, zero capital gains tax on Bitcoin. It is also a very unique program. It is one of the most expensive programs on the market because it's a $1 million donation done in Bitcoin or USDT. But it's the only Bitcoin native program that allows you to donate money in Bitcoin to the government, fully digital and native program where you don't have to visit, you don't have to ship your documents, you submit your application remotely. And in about 2 months, if you get through the due diligence process with no issues, you will be able to get that citizenship. Almost mind-blowing, but it's a great exit strategy for those who feel like their home country government is truly having the power over reach. And the next one is very popular within Bitcoiners right now is Antigua and Barbuda. Caribbean islands have been in the market of selling citizenship for about 30 years now. So they've established themselves as citizenship by investment countries. It is $275,000 for a single applicant and about $20,000 more for a family of 4. You can include your spouse, children, and even your parents if they're financially reliant on you. So in just under a year, you'll go through due diligence process and will be able to obtain a strong citizenship from a Caribbean country that is not involved in like any of the geopolitical disasters. So you have this bug out home and exit strategy in case of civil unrest, in case of them trying to pull 6102 on Bitcoin, which is they can't do it technically because it's unseizable asset, but they can come after you. And I feel like countries like Canada currently do have an easy path to get there. So few other things about Antigua and Barbuda: zero capital gains tax, zero wealth tax. They're basically known as tax haven. And another great program is Portugal. Portugal is cool because it's a very strong passport in the EU. And while they don't have direct paths to citizenship, like you can't have a citizenship a year from now, but they do have this golden visa program where you basically get your residency permit in about 2 years, and then 5 years after original submission of the documents, you can apply for a passport. The cool thing about Portugal Golden Visa is that it solved opportunity cost. So basically, I've been serving Bitcoiners for over 6 years, helping them get a second citizenship. And I know the hardest thing to do is to sell Bitcoin in order to buy citizenship. Well, with Portugal Golden Visa, the way it works, you invest $500,000 into a Portuguese fund. The fund just invests in Bitcoin through a local vehicle such as Bitcoin Treasury Company. So you basically holding Bitcoin through a vehicle. The Bitcoin is held in a multi-sig between the fund manager, the on-chain capital, and a law firm that contractually obliged to hold Bitcoin for 8 years and not move it. And at the end term, you get this citizenship. Now, what I want to say is just like with Bitcoin security, it's very custom tailored solution, right? Depending on, do you care about inheritance? Do you travel a lot? Do you have multiple residencies around the world? You will strategize your Bitcoin security. Hot wallet versus steel plate, stainless steel plate versus multi-sig, etc. Same goes for citizenship. Which passport is the best for you is determined based on your goals and needs based on your current citizenship, the amount of dependents you want to include in your family, obviously your timeline and your wallet, right? So we offer free consultation, brainstorming together on what is the best solution for you. So feel free to go to CitizenX, create an account, and schedule a free call with us. But yeah, you can be just a good example of how it works. The guy named Satoshi Nakamoto, let's say, has a U.S. passport, currently working on Portuguese golden visa, as well as a St. Kitts and Nevis passport. Now this person has access to almost 200 countries visa-free or visa on arrival, has a great exit strategy, and a great hedge against geopolitical disaster involving his country. We built the first citizenship platform. Our goal is basically that's what moves me the most. I mentioned that I really believe in the sovereign individual thesis. It's a book, and this book talks a lot about the end of nation states. And the way they describe it is basically at some point, once the countries realize they now have to compete for citizens and fruits of their labor, because we now can pick and choose through citizenship by investment program or through residency, through financial solvency, and we work remotely so we can actually move around. And we have this borderless asset that we can bring with us without asking permission from any of the governments. Well, we finally make them compete for us. And finally, we as citizens become the customers and they become the service provider, because right now they have zero incentive of being better. So we force this free market environment on nation states. And just like in every free market environment, there is price race to the bottom and the quality race to the top. So perhaps that's our chance to force this sovereign individual thesis onto nation states and get to a better future. So we created this citizenship platform where you can do everything remotely online. We self-host everything on our servers in Switzerland. We're insane about our privacy and security. So that's your best citizenship experience. And you can check out our platform anytime. Of course, you can pay with Bitcoin. We're Bitcoiners ourselves. So fiat and Bitcoin are both welcome. And that's basically everything I wanted to say.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that, Katie. I love like the use case and like the justification for another passport, like a lot of factors that I haven't thought of. And Katie, you also mentioned the sovereign individual. For anyone I mentioned the web and Bitcoin, our Bitcoin course we had available, but the sovereign individual is a fantastic book that resonates with many Bitcoiners and a lot of like the kind of new ways that we're going to be able to use technology to free ourselves, become sovereign individuals, and become citizens or become citizens of the world. Definitely recommend anyone checking out, anyone who's interested in learning more about Bitcoin to check out that book. But this essentially concludes our presentation. We're going to now move into our Q&A session, where if you've been asking a question in chat that our co-host Ulysses has been monitoring and then queuing up for you guys, you'll be able to ask those questions. And as a quick overview, reminder of who Bitcoin Well is. We are the best and only non-custodial Bitcoin platform in the United States. In Canada, we allow you to send e-transfer and wire transfer for buying Bitcoin. In the United States, you connect your bank, send an ACH transfer or a wire transfer for large amounts. Now we'll be opening up the floor for anyone who has questions. If you're going to be heading out early, you can feel free to contact us at Bitcoin Well or Katie at CitizenX.com. Anyone who wants to rewatch this presentation at a later time, we will be sending you a follow-up email as well with a recording, a copy of this presentation, so you can rewatch or share it with your family and friends. And for now, we'll be ready for audience questions.
Awesome, Conrad. Thank you so much. And thank you, Katie, for being part of the webinar this month. I do have a few questions. Obviously, if anybody from our viewers wants to ask a question to Conrad or Katie, just raise your hand and I will let you guys ask that question. I do want to start with you, Katie. One of the questions I have in here is, how has your definition of freedom evolved over the past, say, 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, it's definitely ever changing. Like my flag theory strategy is changing over time. Specifically, big change occurred when I had my children. So that just changes perspective on everything. And geopolitical instability is definitely also having a huge effect on me specifically. I was born and raised in Russia and I'm living in the US as an immigrant. So I have to consider lots of geopolitical trends to strategize what is best for me and my family. But thankfully, I have all the tools to achieve the freedom that I want. I realized the more of a sovereign individual I become, the more freedom I have. So not only did I take control over my finances with Bitcoin, I took control over my physical ability, my physical mobility with second citizenships. I also birthed children at home, so I opted out of medical system. I'm homeschooling, so I opted out of educational system. Basically, I took control over the most important aspects of my life, and that's where I currently am.
Awesome, Katie. Thank you so much for that. Tim is raising his hand, so I'm just going to let him participate. So, Tim, soon
And
as
there has been great questions showing up on the screen. I just can't react that quickly. I'm like reading them, but I'll be happy to answer.
no worries. We'll go through those after Tim asks his question.
Sure. Super presentation. Totally on board with your concepts and your notions and that. And the question I have, can you just give a little bit more technical detail on your platform? Is it mainly to enable someone to transition to another citizenship, or are you providing any capabilities? It's just kind of, I just want to understand that. Thanks.
Yeah, we are basically a service provider firm that embraces the bureaucracy on the government side and provides you with an easy online solution to put together your application. So
Okay.
it's like we're obtaining citizenship, so it's a lot of due diligence. It's very thorough review of your past and present. Basically, police clearance certificates, resume of your work involvement, source of funds, proof of funds. So we're basically making it as easy as possible on you by embracing complexity on the government side. But yeah, we are the ones submitting your application. We are the ones chatting with the government and just holding your hand through that.
Okay, super. So you have this concept of a second citizenship. So you can be the citizen of a country or change your citizenship to a different country. So this idea of a second citizenship, does that mean I can have a quote unquote Bitcoin citizenship that's complementary to my existing citizenship? I just want to understand what the concept is.
Yeah, so citizenship is your status as a citizen in a country, and passport is the documents that also comes with it, right? So it's not that you're changing your citizenship. You can change your residency, but that's basically what we do is we help you get a second citizenship and a second passport. So now you will have dual nationality, dual citizenship, just like many immigrants in the US and Canada. Let's say I come from Venezuela, I keep my Venezuelan citizenship, and I obtain Canadian citizenship through special immigration program. So I'm a dual citizen. You, let's say, as American or Canadian, going through immigration process in Portugal, will keep this two nationalities for you. And now your children will be automatically born dual citizens because their father holds two citizenships. And then their children will be born dual nationality too. So that's also a great legacy to keep running in the family.
Okay. So final question, you don't have to answer this, is what's your favorite citizenship to have right now?
I'm a huge... Yeah,
don't
no,
have to
I'm
answer.
cool with that. I'm a huge fan of what El Salvador is doing. I know they're getting a lot of backfire, but I'm just a huge believer in economic freedom. And again, I'm in a post-Soviet country. I've seen communism, so I know that there are a few most important things to get to a better place in the world, and it's lowering your taxes to as little as possible, and truly respecting private property. So I lived through the process of privatization of property in Russia. Well, Bitcoin is the next level privatization because not only it's truly owned by you, it's also unseizable because in the current property world, we still pay property taxes, and if you don't pay, the property is not yours anymore, which doesn't seem like respect of private property to me. So yeah, I'm a fan of El Salvador right now.
Super. Thank you.
Awesome. Tim, thank you so much for your question. Thank you, Katie, for that. I do have a question from Colleen. What was the name of the book that Conrad mentioned to get? Just so you know, I answered that on the chat, and it is called The Sovereign Individual. So definitely check it out. But let's move on to more questions. So this is from Piston. For Portugal citizenship, what if you already have a EU passport?
Then it basically doesn't make sense for you. As a EU citizen, you can't apply for a golden visa. You can easily relocate to Portugal, so that's not an issue because EU, there's a reason they're a union, because you can freely move between the countries in the union. So Portugal wouldn't make sense for you as a EU citizen.
Awesome. Thank you, Katie. I have another question here from our Q&A. For the second Caribbean citizenship, is there an age limit for children?
So yeah, children must be unmarried. It depends on the jurisdiction. There are 5 Caribbean jurisdictions, and they allow kids, some under 25 years old, some under 31 years old, and some require a certain level of financial dependency on the main applicant, on the parent. But basically, under 30 years old, unmarried children who are either in school or have some financial dependency on the parent will be allowed to be included into your application.
Okay, thank you so much. I do have a question now for everyone. So whoever wants to answer this, what do most people misunderstand about what it means to be truly sovereign?
I can take that one. So what I realized through my years, I got black-pilled, meaning that I got really unhappy when I realized that I've been lied to my entire life, that financial system is broken, that everything I was told is not true. So I became this doomer, right? Like a doomsday fan, but that's not what it's about. I always say be a prepper, not a doomer now. Basically, the true sovereignty is limiting your reliance on the things that are not in line with your principles and taking control over the important aspects of your life to make sure they're up to pair with your values. So that's why I'm no longer a doomer. I truly found my tools, and my tools made me realize that no, I have the freedom that I needed. I built it around myself, and that's what I consider to be sovereign.
Awesome, thank you. And how about you, Conrad? Do you have any comments on that?
Actually, yeah. So if anyone reads like the philosophical book, The Leviathan, written by Hobbes, he talks about how man starts off in the state of nature, which is like, imagine man without an nation state, without any government. Kind of, we're all running around the forest. Riley, who is a bigger, stronger guy than me, is just going to pick up a stick and hit me over the head, and he'll take all my assets, all my bananas, or all my chickens, and there's not really much I can do about that. And in fact, even Katie, who might be smaller than me, could still hit me over the back of the head with a stick. I'm not looking, and take all my chickens. There's basically no repercussions for anything happening. And so the reason that, because if this is the default state of humanity, then it makes sense for us and me and Riley and Katie to give up a little bit of our freedom to a sovereign, a master, a government head, president, whatever, who will then within a certain geographic area be able to guarantee us certain rights, certain security potential. And I think what self-sovereignty enables is that now I have this digital asset that even if Riley bonks me over the head, Riley can't take my digital asset, which kind of disincentivizes Riley from even wanting to bonk me over the head. So I think the reason that we needed a sovereign is kind of fading away as we have unseizable property. And I think that it kind of just, that's kind of like my historical background. So that's kind of the way I view it. But similarly as well, I had a family member, my mother's from Eastern Europe, which was communist controlled. And I think when you have family or you have direct experiences with asset seizure and a lack of freedom in private property, it really kind of emboldens you to want to pursue and protect your private property and your freedom. So Bitcoin, I think, is just the perfect relationship for that. But I think Katie's points about diversifying your citizenship and reducing your reliance on a single sovereign really allows you to be a lot more self-sovereign.
Such a good answer, guys. Thank you so much. Katie, do you think most people really want freedom, or do they want safety?
Yeah, I think for most it's truly a hedge. I think like my American clients definitely not relocating from the US right now in the majority. They truly just want safety and security, a hedge, a plan B in case of emergency. So that's definitely what drives most people. Of course, there are quite a few that are relocating and seeking a different lifestyle. That's also very common. My Canadian clients, though, they are leaving currently.
Yeah, that's very, very unfortunate for Canadians. So a lot of them are opting to leave. Which brings me to another question. Do you think a passport is a tool of control, or do you think it's a tool of liberation?
Definitely tool of control. The creation of passport, any creation of a new bureaucratic point has happened in a moment of crisis. The passport, the concept of passport came out of the World War II, where there were lots of relocation. There was, hunting for Jewish citizens, and they wanted to implement more control to see what is actually happening. So the existence of passport is not ideal scenario for me. And just yesterday we saw now the passport is digital in your Apple Wallet, and I'm like, sure, yeah, no thanks. So right now, like I hope that once the free market exists and we force this nation state competition, and there will be post nation state world where the government, like a government nation state service provider, is basically a small company, micro state, where you can truly vote with your money and enter a different service provider, shop around. And the concept of passports won't exist. There will be like a subscription to a nation state, but that's like so far in the future. So the best I can do right now is to obtain as many passports as possible.
Amazing. And then just talking about the future, where do you guys see, obviously Bitcoin, but also, Plan B passport in the next, 5 to 10 years?
I'm definitely bullish on both. What I want to say is, for 8 years, I've been hearing the institutions are coming to Bitcoin. The institutional money is coming, and like now on CNBC every day we see that a public company is buying Bitcoin. So now the institutions are truly there, and I believe it will take less than 8 years to move from public companies to nation states stacking Bitcoin. So the nation state competition, the race has already begun. El Salvador is leading it. Texas just officially approved strategic Bitcoin reserve for the state treasury. So that is just my view on that. They can't print more money to buy Bitcoin because they're shooting themselves in the knee. So what they're going to do is, what is one asset they can issue as a sovereign nation in order to buy Bitcoin? And that's citizenship. That's what El Salvador is doing. They're issuing citizenship of the country for 9.5 Bitcoins currently, and that's how they're stacking. So imagine other smaller nation states realizing that's their way to stack, issuing citizenship for for investors and stacking Bitcoin this way. Well, the game theory is there. So now we're just incentivizing them to finally start open up those programs and compete for citizens to be better. So I believe these two go hand in hand, and with Bitcoin success, the nation states will want that too, and they will have to do the Plan B passport thing for new citizens. So super bullish on both.
Yeah, so stack sats and stack
Flags.
citizenships. Yeah, stack flags. I love it. How about you, Riley? What are your thoughts on that in the future of these two? Sorry, for Bitcoin and Plan B passport.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with Katie's points. I've been a follower of hers for a couple of years now too, so this is something that I've been keeping a mind on and keeping in the back of my mind. Kind of like she mentioned a little bit ago too, as a U.S. citizen, I'm kind of more focused, because I kind of have like that privilege where I'm kind of more still focused on just stacking those sats, but definitely making sure that I have the tools at my disposal and have the services at my disposal too, like CitizenX now, where if things started to look a little hairy, like I know like where I need to go and kind of start that process. And then in terms of Bitcoin, the institutions are definitely here. While it's exciting, this is why I'm always jazzed up day in and day out to talk to individuals primarily through our Bitcoin Well Infinite service. Because I definitely want more and more individuals to become more sovereign with Bitcoin and put Bitcoin on their own personal balance sheets. And I would like to see more of that rather than more of these kind of treasury companies or even nation states later on. While that is of course bullish for Bitcoin and kind of the number go up technology, definitely want to see more and more individuals do that, because Bitcoin just gives you that freedom and flexibility the more you stack those sats to have the opportunities of stacking flags as well.
Nice. Thank you so much. And Katie, I just want to get your comment on a few things. So as you know, we are a non-custodial exchange. Our mission is to enable independence. Do you have any comments on what that means to you?
Yeah. I told you, like, you can read in history, there's I believe we called either Black Tuesday or Black Thursday in 1998, happened in Russia. Basically, devaluation of a currency, and the way they did this, they just scratched a couple zeros at the end of every number. But let's say you had money in the bank. The next day you came to the bank and there were guys with AK-47s at the doors saying, "Oh no, you don't have money in the bank here. You don't." So this unseizable asset is very important to me, and it's only the matter of time until your custodial will turn against you or will be forced to turn against you. So the radical ownership of Bitcoin is the most important property there is, and there is absolutely no reason for you to hold Bitcoin with custodial services, because it's 2025 and it's no longer hard to self-custody your coins. So get it done, create your own wallet, and self-custody your coins. Like my 60-year-old parents are able to do that, so you are able to do that.
Amazing. Yeah, thank you so much. I think self-custody is the way. So let's get to it. Katie, just last question here. Do you have any other resources, any books that you recommend, any blogs that you might like for our viewers to also check out?
Well, you guys know I got acquired by CitizenX. I will be now running CitizenX podcast. We just posted our insider episode between me and the CEO of CitizenX. That will give you a good perspective on the industry and what we see from the industry and what we expect and what are the trends. But honestly, the best thing you can do if you want to learn more about Plan B Passport is go to citizenx.com, create an account. We take pride in transparency. You will be able to learn about every program there is. And you can schedule a free call with me to strategize on your flag theory. So citizenx.com and my Twitter account. I am Plan B Passport on Twitter.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Is
And then,
that
guys,
is that podcast live currently or still yet to be released?
The episode, it's currently on YouTube. If you Google CitizenX Katie, let me find it. Yeah, it will definitely be there. Yeah, it's Katie the Russian Plan B Passport, and it has this Bitcoin is king, passport is queen headline. So
Okay, awesome. Yeah, Conrad, maybe we can include a link to that in kind of the post webinar email that will get shot out tomorrow or later this week. And I know you were also on Natalie's podcast recently too, so maybe we can include a link to that as well.
yeah, it was just released yesterday. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Amazing, guys. All right. Any last comments before we leave here?
Yeah. Take control over your life and become sovereign. That's all I can say. Thank you, gentlemen, for this webinar. Really appreciate y'all. Really appreciate self-custody push. It's the only option for your customers, so I truly appreciate that.
Thanks, Kitty.
Awesome.
Your words of approval do mean a lot for us. Having serious Bitcoiners really value us, lets us know that our mission, we're on the right path. We're setting people up for success, and we're setting people up for safety. And that's what self-custody and self-sovereignty is.
Yep. There you go.
All right, everyone, that concludes our presentation. Thank you so much for our audience for participating and sticking with us through to the end. Thank you so much, Katie, for coming on and delivering your terrific presentation. I know I was learning a lot. I know Riley was learning a lot. I could see him, we're all nodding along and asking questions, and I'm sure that our audience has really learned a lot today. You've given us all a plan B in an area where many folks probably didn't think that a plan B existed. So we're thankful for that. For anyone that is going to be looking to share this webinar with a friend or wants to get links for anything we talked about today, we mentioned books, podcast appearances, all of that in addition to a recording of this webinar will be included in a follow-up email. Keep an eye out for that later this week. And that wraps it up. Thank you so much, everyone. We hope you guys have a great day and stay sovereign.
Yay.
Thank you, Katie.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
I need to end the call. Still recording. Okay.